Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Tupelo to Heaven podcast. We have the one and only Mr. Larry Strickland on. How you doing, Mr. Strickland?
I'm good, man. I'm really good.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for agreeing to appear.
I'm happy to be here and happy to meet you guys.
All right. Well, let's kick off the interview. Let's just start right from the beginning. From what I've read, you are the son of a preacher, and that's how you got into gospel music. And you attended your first gospel concert at age 12. What was that like to be in that concert and just have the music grab you? Can you tell us a little bit what you went through and why you wanted to do that with your life?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I was in a live concert and these quartets were on stage singing. And back in those days, the sound systems and those kind of things weren't nearly as sophisticated or as good as they are now. But it didn't matter. I mean, it was the sound coming off that stage, from those quartets just really went through me. And it hooked me instantly. I mean, I was mesmerized. And, I guess when something like that resonates with you, it's something that you're meant to do. And from that point on, I was eaten up with the quartet, the gospel quartets, and the music that they sang. And I bought myself some albums, and I'd play those albums every day at home, even after school. I'd stand in my bedroom and sing with those quartets, and train in my voice to sing, learn to sing. And, I literally did it every day of the week. That's how eaten up I was with it.
Who was your favorite quartet back in the day?
Back then it was probably a group called the Statesmen.
Oh yeah, they were Elvis' favorite group. Yeah. I love that song. Oh, what a savior.
Oh yeah.
It's a great song. Jake Hess,
the Big Chief, the bass singer, Big Chief, and there was nobody like them. And then one of the first groups too that I listened to as a kid was the Blackwood Brothers, and when J.D. Sumner was with them. And of course, I never dreamed that I would one day be working with J.D.
Yeah.
But I was a big fan of his, that at a very early age.
Yeah.
So here's a quick question that I'm sure you don't get often, because, obviously people reflect on the time that you were with Elvis. But when you were younger, obviously you were alive in 56, 57 when Elvis was, first breaking out. What did you think of him then? Like before you actually worked with him and before that you knew that you were going to start working with him?
I loved his music. I'd never seen him live anywhere, but back during the time, the music was awesome, not just from him, but the 50s, music was really big for me as a teenager, and constantly listened to it. But I was also listening to the gospel music at the same time. And so, but I loved it.
Back in the day, did you ever try to sing secular music when you were younger?
I'd sing along with some of the bebop songs, and sing along with the bass parts and that stuff.
Yes.
And who knew you'd be touring with the greatest pop singer of all time?
All right, so here's another question that I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but excuse me, geez, hot time in Florida. Anyway, the other question that I wanted to ask.
I lost it.
But I got rain tonight in Georgia.
Jake gets his Wi-Fi back going here. I want to ask you about the first time you met Elvis. I know you've told the story before, but it's such a great story. Could you tell us about the time you first met Elvis?
It's a great story, but it's kind of traumatic for me. It was not a good thing. I mean, meeting him was ultimately, but yeah, this was in 1975, and in that era, kids and older were a big thing fashion-wise was bib overalls. Girls were wearing them, and of course they're back to wearing them now as well. You see girls girls wearing cut off bibs, even now, but back then they were really like the cool thing. And so I found a pair up in New Jersey somewhere. So I was on the road with the stamps already. And so I found a pair in a store up there, and I bought this pair. I thought I was going to be really with it, you know, and cool and hip. And so we finally get to Vegas. This was going to be my first meeting with Elvis, and just to see everybody. And they call for a rehearsal, and they go upstairs to up to the top floor of the Hilton. There's the big banquet hall up there, and all the band, everybody was there, and all the backup singers. And I'm standing there with the stamps, and in a few minutes, the big double doors swing open, and in walks two bodyguards, and then Elvis, and then two bodyguards behind it. You know, they're all like a unit. You know, they're moving like this. And of course, I'm just extremely in awe and intimidated and scared and everything else. You know, just the image of him coming in the room like that was exciting, but intimidating at the same time. And so he's going around and meeting and greeting everybody. He really treated the band and the singers really well, you know, and loved and truly loved them. And so he would, you know, hugging them and carrying on, and then finally got over to where the stamps are, where we're standing, and he's hugging on JD, and they're laughing and slapping each other on the back and carrying on. And finally, Ed Enoch, who was the lead singer, said, "Ed, I want you to meet our new bass singer, Larry Strickland." Elvis put his hand out and shook my hand, and then he put his hand on Ed's shoulder and pulled him away just a little bit, not very far. I mean, only, you know, like 3 feet away from me. And I hear him say to Ed, "Ed, where in the hell did you get the effing farmer?" And I heard that, you know, and I went, "Oh my gosh, man!" And then he goes around the room to the suites and the rest of the band, you know, and he's pointing, "Hey, did you guys see the farmer over here?" And so I'm like the laughing stock of the entire entourage. And so I'm certain that I'm going to be fired, you know, the next day. And there was overalls. I mean, and nobody had told me that he was making fun of them, but at the same time, he really didn't like those overalls. And if you've ever seen any pictures of him when he's little, like 2 or 3 years old, he's wearing those overalls. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that that's the reason he didn't like them, you know, because that's probably all he had to wear at that particular time in his life. And it was forbidden, you know, for anybody. We couldn't wear jeans on stage or anything like that. We had to be, you know, dressed out. So it was really scary. I mean, I really thought that they'd probably put me on a plane and send me home the next day. But fortunately, you know, they let me stay. So, but that was, yeah, that was. I would wish for it to have been. I wish I'd made a better first impression, you know. But hey, I have to live with it. Did I lose you?
No. That's a very, very cool story. When you joined, was Voice already with Elvis? I'm trying to think of when Voice came around.
Voice was already with him. In fact, Voice was winding down. They had actually that particular time in Vegas. They did that week in Vegas for 10 days, whatever it was, I don't remember. And then maybe a few other tour days, but after that they were gone. You know, they disbanded. So I mean, of course, I got to know Donnie and all the guys in Voice. And they all left, but Cheryl Nelson, you know, who was a part of the Voice, he kept Cheryl on as part of the group, part of the.
Cheryl had some crazy outfits, didn't he?
Do what?
Cheryl had some crazy outfits, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'd rather wear jeans.
Yeah, me too. He was almost trying to outdo Elvis with his outfit, wasn't he? You know, and it's kind of surprising that Elvis let him get away with that. I guess at that particular time, you know, it didn't matter to him apparently.
Larry, I
Yeah.
have to ask you, I don't know if you're wearing it or not, but from what I can see, you have a necklace on. Is that your TCB?
Yeah,
Whoa.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah. I always wear it anytime I have to do any kind of thing like this. So that's great.
Do you still have the card that was given to the band members? Do you still have that card?
I do it somewhere. In fact, I was just looking for it the other day, and I don't know what's happened to it. And I also had some glasses that had the stamps on. There were Elvis glasses that J.D. I guess Elvis had told J.D. to get them for us, but they had the stamps on one side and Larry on the other, and they were gold. And my wife had them in like a trophy case downstairs, and somebody, we're really not sure who, took them from me. So I have no clue where they are now. But
That's something you could never sell because we know it was yours.
yeah.
If someone were to steal it, they'd have to keep it.
Well, I know because it's got my name on it. And if the glasses are gold and then the lettering is in white gold. So I can't imagine what anybody would do with them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
very cool though.
Now, you mentioned your wife. You married Naomi. Now that's quite a musical family. Tell us how you got to meet Naomi and get involved with your musical family there.
Yeah, you're talking about Naomi Judd and Winona Judd and Ashley Judd. I went downtown. We had when I was with the Stamps, I went downtown. We had a new manager for the Stamps, personal manager. And I went downtown on Music Row in Nashville here and went in the office. And I walked in and Naomi had just gotten a job working in that office as a receptionist. And she and the girls had just moved to Nashville. Winona was 15 and Ashley was 11. And when I walked in, it was a real hot day. And it was me and Ed Enoch came in together. And of course, he's got sweat running off his face and everything. And something was said about being hot and sweaty. And I said, well, I'm not sweaty because for some reason I wasn't sweating. And so I said, well, I'm not sweating, Ed. And then I turned to walk back into the office and I heard Naomi say, she said, well, I bet I can make you sweat. She probably wouldn't like me telling that story, but I heard her say it, so, what you gonna do, man?
You have to.
Yeah. So, a few days later, I gave her a call and we started going out. And of course, she was working. Yeah, there you go. She was working as a nurse and working in the office part-time as a receptionist. And the girls, they'd only been in town about a month, so we've been together pretty much ever since that time.
Wow.
Oh.
Now you two this is kind of a funny question, and I'm not sure if you've been asked this before, but you were on a cooking show together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we did pretty bad on that show. I think we were maybe the second couple to lose and get kicked off, which I'm kind of glad we did because, man, that was the most intense kind of thing, trying to cook those meals on a time limit. And there was just certain things you could do and couldn't do. And you got the camera on you. And it was just too much stress for me, man. I couldn't handle it. So I'm kind of glad we didn't go any further than we did.
That's great. That's awesome.
That's very cool. So what kind of surprises, being that Elvis was going to go out on tour? This is something that I've never asked anybody before, but the question just came to me. Elvis was set to go out on tour on August 17th. He was set to go out on tour, so naturally he probably had some new things that he was looking to introduce to the show because, every tour he brought in new songs. What sticks out in your mind as something new that Elvis was going to do that he never got to do on that upcoming August 1977 tour?
At that time, and I'm being honest, there was no new things that that we knew about. There had not been any kind of rehearsal or anything like that. It could have been a situation. Usually, when we're going on tour like that, if he had something new he was going to do, we would do it in sound check. You know, he would come early, or he may not even be there. But Felton Jarvis, you know, the producer, he would be there, and he would work with us on running whatever. But at that particular time, there was nothing that I can remember that was anybody said anything about a new song, you know, was going to be done.
It's interesting. I guess Elvis had more predominant problems to worry about at the time than coming up with new songs.
And you know, we had just finished recording the Moody Blue album and the live from Elvis Presley Boulevard album. And so we already knew all those things, and he would pull those out, but we already knew them. So because we had recorded them, so there was no rehearsal needed.
All right.
Well, the sound quality on those albums are fantastic.
You know what? It's an engineering marvel that they sound as good as they do, because, you know, we recorded those records in the Jungle Room at Graceland. Mm-hmm. And as you know, in a recording studio, you've got a room, not just for the drums. You've got a vocal booth that's all closed off, and all the instruments are isolated, and so that, you know, nothing can bleed into another's mic, you know, and this kind of thing. But at Graceland in the Jungle Room, we didn't have any of that, mm-hmm. and everything was just sitting out in the middle of the floor. I think maybe there was a drum shield, you know, around Ronnie Tutt, from what I can remember. But everything else is just all in the room. We're all together. And Elvis was using a handheld mic part of the time, and he was walking around the room singing. And you can imagine what that was doing to the, you know, what was going down. You know, the guys in the truck were probably going crazy because his microphone would change all the time. And so, you know, the guys that I knew, some of the guys that did the mixing, and they did some magic, you know, to really make those records as clean as they are, you know, and the sound as good as they do. Yeah,
they sound fantastic. One of my favorite recordings of Elvis is inside of a rehearsal that he did in August of 1974. Now, your first show with Elvis was opening night, August 1974, correct?
No, it was 75.
Oh, 75.
Vegas. Yeah, Vegas is 75.
Oh, okay. Then I got that wrong. I was wondering. There's one recording of the Stamps singing "Just Pretend" with Elvis in '74 in a rehearsal in RCA Studio C. That's simply fantastic. I recommend you guys all go check that, because it's really good. I was wondering if you would sing on that. But,
well, I've sung it with him, you know, on stage, but I wasn't part of that rehearsal. That was before me.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, when did Elvis last sing "Just Pretend"? Logan, that was 75, correct?
75, December 13th.
Well, you guys are, you know your stuff.
Speaking of those great songs, you know, Elvis had so many good songs, especially good songs to do on stage, like "Suspicious Minds," "Polk Salad Danny." What was your favorite song to perform with Elvis on stage?
Well, there was two of them. One was the trilogy, American Trilogy, because we were the Stamps were a big part of that song, and it was such a big number, and we just loved doing that. And then How Great Thou Art was another one that, you know, we had a big part of, and so probably those two were my favorites.
Yes, I always loved "Polk Salad" with the bass.
Polk Salad, Granny, get you Granny, Granny, get you Gator.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did that really just happen?
Oh, my Lord. My boy.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So there's one last question I would like to really ask you. If there is one song that you really wish Elvis had recorded, had he continued, what song do you think it would have been?
You know, I can't answer that, because I really don't know. You know, we were so focused on just backing him up. And, you know, I wasn't in a position to ever think of a song and go to him and say, hey, you really need to, I wish you'd sing this song. He would probably say, get the hell out of here, man. But I really don't know. You know, his repertoire was unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure you guys may know, I don't have a clue of how many songs he's actually performed through the years.
Yeah, depending on if you count live, like one take lives and home recordings, it fluctuates between in the mid 700s to over 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it was every style that you could think of, you know, that he was singing, and he was just so incredible to take, you know, those songs from different genres and make them Elvis songs. I mean, it was wonderful.
Absolutely. I always think about how Elvis was able to cover every single genre, and I always thought the one genre he never really covered was swing music. And I was singing the other day, one of my shows, and I was singing Frankie and Johnny, and I just paused and I went, there it is. That's Elvis singing music.
Yeah, that's right.
He did it all, every bit of it.
Yeah,
Now, Larry, you served in the military, and we'd like to thank you for your service.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Tell us a little about how your music affected being in the military and vice versa.
Well, it got put on hold when I went in the military because there was, you know, I had to leave the group that I was singing with at the time, and then was so involved in what I was doing in the military that music got put to the side, you know, and on hold. So there was a big gap there, 4 years where I was out of the scene and doing very little singing.
Yes, and it's amazing because you and Elvis both served in the military, so you guys had that connection.
Yeah, we were both in Germany too. Of course, not at the same time, but I spent 3 years in Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know that. I knew you were in the service. I didn't know that you were in the same area.
Yeah.
Now, Jake, do you have a question you'd like to ask Larry?
Yeah. If this hasn't already been asked, I'm sorry. I've had some kind of technical difficulties, been kicked out and stuff. But excuse me, I got a hoarse throat. So was there ever a point on stage, Larry, that you just maybe have you ever daydreamed on stage when you were with Elvis and maybe just thought, man, I am singing with the greatest entertainer of all time, and maybe just thought like were you just like starstruck that it happened to you? Because I know that there's tons of people that would have loved to be sitting behind Elvis for over 200 shows. Did that ever just pass through your mind?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, you never got really comfortable, so comfortable that you know just was dialing in your part, you know, skating through. I mean, the shows were so intense, and he was so intense. So you were hyper vigilant and during the whole time, and then you're awestruck as well, because we were obviously big fans of his as well. So we would be as thrilled as the fans, on some of the songs that he would sing, and that whole sound that was coming off stage, to be part of that was such a big thrill. You never got used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. You certainly have some amazing experiences that millions of people.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't aware of that, during when he was alive, and with him, for me, it wasn't a normal job, of course. I mean, it was, I knew where I was, and I was with a great entertainer, and there's no other show like it. I would think I'm sure there's some other artists that would travel with huge orchestras and the background singers and stuff, but very few. Certainly not any with the.
They can compare to Elvis.
They can compare to Elvis, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. I think you did.
Now, Larry, you just recently put out a new album. And tell our viewers a little about how they can get the album, what the album means to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unique that for me to put out a solo record because I've always sung with a group. You know, I've never wanted to go out on my own and be a singer. I've always been the bass singer in a quartet. And so anytime you'd see me on stage singing, I was in a group. And then there was a producer here in Nashville that would call me every now and then and say, "Larry, how come you don't make a record?" You know, and I just, you know, it's just not my thing. You know, I'm singing with a quartet. And finally, he convinced me. And also somebody said, "Are you ever going to write a book? You know, about your life with Elvis?" And my feeling about that was, you know, there's been a lot of books written. Just about everybody that was around Elvis wrote a book, and I just didn't feel like, you know, another one was needed because I didn't have any great new stories that hadn't been told. You know, I didn't have anything to reveal that people didn't already know. And I just thought it would be pretty redundant for me to, you know, write something. But I did want to leave something that was kind of representative of what I do, you know, in my bass voice. And so there's a country singer. I don't know if you guys know who Randy Travis is, or and I was a big fan of his. And he has kind of a not a bass voice, but he has a low tones to his voice. And when I would listen to his songs, you know, and sing along, you know, I realized that you know, here's somebody that's singing in my range that with songs that I like, the gospel songs that I really like, and it gave me the confidence to go in and record some of those songs. And the gospel songs on there, there's several of them are songs that Elvis recorded, you know, the songs that he loved as well, and that he and I both grew up with, you know, as young children. I mean, my dad was a minister, so I was in church all the time. So these songs, I was very familiar with them. And so that's how it came about, you know, and I call it legacy because I feel like it's kind of, you know, what I'm leaving that's going to be laying around after I'm gone.
Yes. And they can find that at your website, which is larrystricklandmusic.com, correct?
Yes, that's it. Yeah, and you can find it there. You can download it from there. You can, I think you can stream it from there, or you can order the record and I'll sign it, that kind of thing. So,
Wow.
yeah, just check it out.
All right, everybody, make sure you go and purchase Legacy by Larry Strickland at larrystricklandmusic.com. It's a fantastic album, everybody, and make sure you go check it out.
Yes, and Jake, I know you had Wi-Fi issues. Are there any more questions you maybe didn't get the chance to ask Larry? And he froze up again. But Larry, we really do appreciate you.
Well,
there he is.
There we go. We're a little bit delayed. There we go.
am I there?
Yes.
You're there. You're on.
It's insane. Anyway, one of the questions that I wanted to ask was, if it hadn't been asked already, what I know you worked on the album Where No One Stands Alone that came out in 2019. Tell us a little bit about that and who else you worked with in that same session, like when they remastered Elvis's music.
Yeah, well, it was me and J.D Sumner and Bill Bays from the Stamps, and then there was Terry Blackwood and Terry Blackwood and the bass singer from the Imperials. I don't know what's his name?
A big tall guy, right?
Well, he was kind of big, but not very tall. I don't know why. He's a friend of mine. I can't even think of his name. I love him to death. I can't think of, but it was those.
Armin Morales.
Armin Morales. Thank you. Yes. In fact, me and Armin stood together side by side. And I was telling Jake that if you go to listen on that record to Bosom of Abraham, that's me doing all the bass lines of down in the bosom of Abraham, you rock my soul. Down in the bosom of Abraham. So I'm doing those down in the bosoms all through there.
That's so cool.
That's my claim to fame there.
Amazing.
I'm gonna go listen to that record right now.
And it's a good record, but you know, they changed some things on it that I wish they hadn't, as far as some of the not Elvis singing. Obviously they couldn't change them. Couldn't change any of that, but they changed some of the background parts that I wish they hadn't have changed. But still it's a great record.
Yeah. It's a fantastic record. I really liked it. I'd really love to hear them do a record that's Elvis with just backing vocalists. I always think that's so cool because I play around with my little vocal isolating machinery all the time and just isolate Elvis and you guys, or Elvis and the Jordanaires, or whoever's singing backing vocals for him. And I'd really love to see someone put out an album of just Elvis a cappella.
Yeah, I know. He loved to do that kind of stuff too. And you know, and it was in Vegas, you'd have the guys come up in the middle of the night, you know, and stand around the piano and sing. So it's kind of what you were talking about. And it was, you can't get any better than what that sound was.
Yeah, Elvis stripped back is the best Elvis. Something I find very interesting is how for years and years, Sony tried to do these Royal Philharmonic albums and do a lot of albums with a lot of orchestration and a lot of overdubs. But the newest album that they just put out, they got rid of all the overdubs and they just made it the undubbed masters, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. I wish some of the. Do you guys do Elvis? I mean, either one of you guys, Jake, do you guys sing? All you guys sing?
Yeah.
Well, you need to do something like that. You know, do a thing with it's, and you can do the Bosom of Abraham and those kind of songs, and do up tempo, the up tempo old gospel things, and do them a cappella. Yeah,
I'll fly you out and you can sing bass for me.
I'll do it. Well, you'll have to come to Nashville and do it. We'll do it here. We got 10,000 recording studios in Nashville.
Right.
Have you ever been here?
I've been there twice. Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Will you be in Memphis this year for the Elvis Week?
Well, I'm waiting to hear. I hadn't heard yet. I think the Imperials are going to be there, but I haven't heard yet, so I don't know. I'm hoping.
Yes, right. Hope you'll be able to make it so we can meet you in person. You know.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Are all you guys going to be there?
I'll be there.
Yep.
Jake, you going?
Very cool.
All right.
Can you hear us, Jake?
Yeah, I'm going to Memphis in August too. Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Right.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight, Larry. It's been an absolute honor. I don't know what else to say than thank you so much for coming.
Well, I'm happy to meet you guys, and I'm glad to see that young guys are carrying on the tradition and carrying on the music. You know, that's something that we're
trying
about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to the From Tupelo to Heaven podcast. I'm Matt Stone. This is Logan Ramey, Jake Baliff, and of course the one and only Larry Strickland. Thank you very much, everybody. Tune in next time. Thank you very much.
It was nice to meet you guys.
Thank you very much.
If you come to Nashville, let me know. We'll go have a lunch or something.
Absolutely. I'll see you there.